The time has come to resume the program with the panel discussion on the smart city technology that realizes urban optimization. I'd like to introduce the panelists to you. Mr. Akimasa Yamashita, Deputy Governor of Kyoto Prefecture. He will be participating remotely. Next, Mr. Eihiro Saishu, President and CEO of Groove Notes. Please come forward. Next, Ms. Mariko Shigematsu, the Council for Area Development and Management of Otemachi, Marunouchi, and Yurakucho, Chairperson of the Committee for Smart City Planning and Promotion. Last but not least, the moderator will be Mr. Ryo Ishii, Director of PwC Advisory. First of all, we would like to receive the presentation from Mr. Akisa Yamashita, Deputy Governor of Kyoto Prefecture.
Good morning, this is Yamashita of Kyoto Prefecture. Thank you very much for this opportunity today. So I'd like to share with you some examples or cases of Kyoto. So this time around, I would like to present on Keihanna Smart City building in Kyoto. Keihanna is how we call it, and Kansai Culture Academic Research City is the official name for this. So this is a nationally designed science city. In the east, it's Tsukuba, and in the west, it's Keihanna, excuse me. So this Keihanna, when the first oil shock took place, global resources were coming to its limitation, and this vision was created back then. Who advocated this was a President Okuda of Kyoto University. Normally, in Kansai Academic Research City group, a discussion started taking place, and then the cultural element was added later on. Considering today's COVID-19 situation and post-corona world, it's an important keyword. But actually, technology on its own, can it change the society and the world, or can we optimize the technology system for humans? I think there is a big question mark over it. So with the culture as an element, for us, we can create something that is easy to use. We can realize our principles or philosophy and so on. I think we can leverage our technology to that end. And that is my understanding today. As such, Kansai Culture Academic Research City, at the beginning, our aim was not just build a research city, but we want to put this concept into a practical use, and we want to build houses and so on. So community building as a whole is included in the vision, and for the past 35 years, we have been working on this concept. Now, people talk often about a smart city, but even back then, we already had this concept, which is exactly a smart city. So from here, new culture is emerging, I would say. Behind that culture, high technology exists. In that dynamics, new lifestyle proposal has been put forward. Against such a backdrop, currently, the fourth city creation plan is advanced. So the concept hasn't changed from back then, but it's been adapted to the current times, and the approach has been changing. As you can see on this page, it's not that something surprising or new is presented here, but at the beginning, we had such a strong motivation, so we still maintain it, and this concept is still evolving today. So Smart City Expo started back in 2014. So before that, March 11th or East Greater Japan earthquake took place. Just like COVID-19 that is prevailing today, cultures, lifestyles, people's way of thinking, regional communities were impacted by this disaster to a great deal, and triggered by that development, we went back to our original point, a community building, a city building, and we thought about what the future should be. So Kyoto Smart City Expo was initiated back then, and we started working with all sorts of municipalities and so on to work on this project. Going forward, innovation from a technology-oriented approach is not enough, but we have to provide solutions to resolve social challenges, including cultural component. So we have to resolve social challenges. A new type of innovation has to emerge. New type of innovation has to be brought about. Social challenges are most well known by local governments because there are people who live in those communities. In case of Kyoto Prefecture, Kyoto citizens, there are tourists from all over the world, and they come to Kyoto and they have some expectations. We have many academic gatherings as well. What sort of role do they expect from Kyoto, including that a question horizontally, this is known not by too many people. So societal challenges are well grasped by local governments or municipalities. So they will be the main actor to bring about innovation going forward. They have to engage many people to realize innovation. That is what we wanted to achieve. So that's why this Kyoto Smart City Expo started. To substantiate this, there has to be a platform for activities. To that end, Keihanna Academic City started a KIC, or Open Innovation Center. This is a place where you can have an exchange and conduct research and development activities. In here, this is not a collaboration across industry, academia, and government, but this also includes people or citizens. So collaborative innovation is the aim of this Open Innovation Center, and we've been conducting our program activities. So there have been some practical uses and new startups emerging as well. Going forward, what's particularly important is the use of big data. In Japan, there are so many kinds of data, massive amount of data, but it's not effectively utilized as a big data because there is a lack of a platform governments. There is a health insurance receipt data is owned by the public administration, but it hasn't been made available widely. Transportation operators have data about the behaviors of people, but it's not combined with health data to bring about a new innovation. That hasn't been possible. That's the current situation. Going forward, we live in the era where people live to be 100 years old, and all sorts of data. Based upon that, we have to extend our healthy life longevity, and we have to take measures and come up with solutions. And to this end, this is a crucial or indispensable platform. From 2 to 3 years ago, we started building this platform, and currently we are still struggling. There is a legal barriers, personal information barriers, there is mindset barriers on the part of citizens. We have to overcome them to build a new society. That is the challenge we are now taking on, and we are still going through trial and error. Another point is the startup business recently. Looking at the startup businesses recently, there are startups that are trying to solve societal challenges. Going forward, one of the roles that startups have to play is that with various technologies and with various people, they have to combine them to resolve societal challenges. So these startups have to be coordinators. They have to do coordination. That is the role to be taken by new talents or human resources. By doing so, the social challenges can be resolved and people's lives can be enriched and people can live safely. I think that is the source for such a society. So these startups activities are focused upon. In July this year, we were chosen. There are four bases for startup innovation, and along with Osaka and Hyogo prefectures, we were selected as one of the four places. Startup capacity can lead to the solutions of social challenges, and we want to build a smarter city too. So we want to leverage both internal and external human resources. We want to give them opportunities so that they can excel. We can create a peaceful and a safer society. So I've been saying peaceful or safe society as adjectives. So when you say healthy or longevity, there are three means in this health part. The first one is a physical health. The second one is a mental health. The third one is a societal health. Human beings or people live in society. They coexist with the society and they try to realize, go through self-actualization. They get a sense of fulfillment out of that. So this third one, social health or societal health, there is a bigger question mark over it. This time around, I'm participating remotely, and still, I'm not completely sure. I have a question lingering in my head. So I used to go to the venue and I was able to talk to people in person, face to face. But this is a situation that I'm faced with today. But there are certain things that are possible because of remote solutions. I've made some new discoveries. Now we live in this hybrid society with real and remote combined. And in what way we can make it more attractive? In this 100-year life society, we can create a good society. That is the question, and in this year's Smart City Expo, this is one of the central questions. Now we are preparing for this occasion, and the people in charge are still coming to office on Saturday and Sunday. This time around, what we are most focused on is in the post-corona society, how our lifestyles will change. So there are some intelligent, the title is Intelligence Giant, and international conference will take place 3 to 4 times going forward. The first one will take place along with the Smart City Expo, and the 2 more occasions or conferences will be hosted separately. This program, there is an international research center, sophisticated research center, and this is a unique research institute, and they are trying to answer the question what to do research about in the post-corona society. There are challenges. So what sort of research projects should be pursued? So the research question is what research should be done? We are going to compile the results, and we'd like to share the results with the audience who are participating today on perhaps our website or something like that. So please look forward to it. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamashita. I would like to ask Mishi to moderate from here onward. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Ishii of the PwC Advisory. I'm very pleased to serve as the moderator for this panel discussion today. As Yamashita-san has just mentioned, today Sai-san Shigematsu-san is working online, and on online, Yamashita-san is also participating. We have many audience participating online as well. So here in this 40 minutes, we will also be engaging in a hybrid experience. For my part, I would like to first of all discuss the issues for this panel discussion, and then ask Saisha-san, Shigema-san to talk about their initiatives. Today's topic is smart city technology that realizes urban optimization. Smart city has been receiving attention from about 2010 in the market. From that point on, as utilization of data as well as optimization of city infrastructure control, the concepts that have emerged. But it was only limited to an idea. But now, 10 years down the road, Japanese government has provided strong support, and all over Japan, many smart city projects are underway. So actual implementation in regions as well as utilization of the data are making progress specifically as well. Now, this year, we are beset with the COVID-19 pandemic. When the emergency declaration was made on a daily basis, we were focused on the number of cases as well as increase of people amongst the regions, looking at data to decide our behavior as well as policy. So the effectiveness of the data utilization has been realized. And also, issues and challenges have come to the fore as well. This is the current state of the smart city initiatives in 2020. We will be discussing technologies to enable the smart cities, but our discussions will be limited not only in technology, but we'll also discuss what are the challenges and what will be the solutions for these challenges. We hope to discuss these topics from the three panelists in depth from their perspectives. Now, without further ado, Shigematsu-san will be talking about her initiatives.
Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction. I am Shigematsu at the Council for Area Development and Management of Otemachi. So earlier there was a presentation about Kyoto. I myself would like to talk about 120-hectare area around the Tokyo station. This is an area management type smart city project, and I would like to share with you the summary of that as an input for you. So this is a Daimaryu Smart City Vision Execution Plan. It says March 2020. So there is a Smart City Promotion Consortium, Tokyo Metropolitan Government and Machizukuri Council and Chiyoda Ward are involved in this. And Otemachi, Marunouchi, and Yurakucho areas where the program is taking place. This is around 120 hectares. And Otemachi, Yurakucho, Marunouchi, these central Tokyo areas are included. And we at the council have been working with the landowners for the past 30 years. We are an area management council or group, so to speak. So this time around, a smart city is a theme that is given to us, and how we are trying to advance this program or project is something that I'd like to present to you today. So first of all, the vision or state to be and approach to realize this project. We have been working on this project over the past 30 years. Smart city doesn't change anything too radically. For the time being, people have been trying to come up with a guideline for community building to realize the future vision we have for the area. This is an existing city center, and we are doing area management by cooperation both across public and private sectors. With the technology strengths, we are trying to update the city and with all sorts of technologies and people's behaviors are changing, a certain approach is necessary, and we are trying to redesign the city. So these are the two viewpoints that we have to create the vision. When we created this vision, challenge-oriented approach was mentioned earlier, and we have this vision-oriented approach for the community development. And we try to identify such challenges and in what way can we update the situation through the force of our technology. That is how we deploy our initiatives. So there are four viewpoints as you can see on the slide. So all of them are updated by technology. That is the purpose that we have as a smart city project. So these are four areas on the right-hand side and left-hand side. You have different kind of viewpoints such as normal life or irregular life. We have viewpoints such as a well-being, and in case of an emergency, we have to provide safety and security. Barrier-free approach is necessary. Congestion should be avoided. So in your regular life and irregular life, what can be realized by technology? That is presented here. So this is really the same two sides of the same coin in terms of community building, but people experience different scenes, and stakeholders are different in terms of service provision. So just like today's theme indicates, how can we optimize? We have to come up with standards or criteria. That is the framework we have. On top of that, as a layer, mobility is something that we work on. So in all these four areas, mobility is included. So mobility can lead to solutions. There are different stakeholders, and another layer is different approaches. Through this, there are development challenges in the area, and we try to identify them. And as was mentioned earlier, this is a new smart city-like infrastructure, as we call it, and area management approach is adopted. So that is the execution plan to realize a smart city. What's central in here is a city operating system, city OS, tends to be the subject to discussion. But on our part, there are development challenges and use cases, and we should have a discussion with all sorts of stakeholders to seek solutions. So that's how we are trying to build a smarter city, which can lead to the next development of use cases. So this is the sequences or order we work. This kind of initiative, based upon that, we are trying to redesign the city. That is the characteristics of this project. Finally, these initiatives, we said that the consortium worked on this project, but to promote the initiatives, as you can see right in the middle, we are right in the middle, and we are the engine, or we are doing the coordination. There are all sorts of stakeholders involved in the city, and we work with them to optimize the use cases. We are trying to define the use cases to provide services, and this is an ecosystem type approach. So that was a brief presentation, but thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to call upon Mr. Eihiro Saishu, CEO of Group Notes, for your presentation. On the part of our Group Notes company, we are basically a technology company. Our focus is machine learning, and using machine learning, society and human behavior future, it will be forecast. And using a quantum computer, people and work process can be optimized. humans and companies and societies may be in conflict at times. For example, easy to work style may in contrast to generating more profit. But if we want to with congestion in the cities as well as efficient transportation of products could be in conflict as well. So based on all these different conditions that may be in conflict, we can find the optimum landing point that is acceptable by everyone. It is the optimization of the combination. So this optimization will be decided using quantum annealing and AI. The advantage of quantum computing is that computational can be involved, and even without calculation, the solution can be provided. That is the reason why the speed of computation is very fast. It may seem counterintuitive, but it is based on physics, and optimum solution can be obtained in a very fast manner. Shigana-san is here today with the Mitsubishi Estate in the Daimaru district. The waste that is generated to be collected in an optimal way was the challenge we tackled at the beginning. In order to realize this, by building, we have to identify or forecast the volume to be generated and decide the route of transportation by the truck using quantum computing. AI will do the forecasting, and the optimization will be conducted by the quantum computing. By so doing, this can be very effective. AI forecast and quantum computing optimization is the area that we're receiving many requests. In the city environment, more efficient business operation as well as the city operation is called for. We are receiving many requests today in that regard. So it is city as a service rather than smart city. This is not a function space, but it's a service space. So to enhance the service space is what we are aiming to achieve. For this purpose, having many senses is not the answer, but rather from a work, we can identify the sales data or the logistics data that are accumulated in the companies. And from the point of view of the urban environment, we can identify the human behavior as well as human existence, and we have gained insight on this. Now we are receiving many data from various companies, so that in the urban environment, the social changes that are taking place can be identified using AI and quantum computing. JCB credit card utilization data is used. We are identifying where people are being congested. We are also identifying the movement of people. But this will not suffice. What we have to focus on is the objective of the movement, why people are staying in a certain location. What is the objective of these people in the city must be identified. Not in a macroscopic way, but we need high resolution. We need to scrutinize this. This is one example in Fukuoka in the Tenjin district. Looking at the movement of people, it's not movement data, but based on purchase data, we have identified their movement. We have identified what is the likely route of people from shop to shop. So people walking in Tenjin City can be categorized into 200 behavior categories. for the transportation as well as urban development people as well as retailers, can be very useful information because we can have insight on what the people want living in the city, and the objectives of movement will be clarified. And if the function is not available, that can be identified as well. So the visitors enter a location, the optimal urban environment can be identified based on data so that there is no excess, there is no shortage. We can identify this from human behavior. By so doing, service space can be enhanced. And that is what we are doing today. Thank you very much. Yeah, here onward, we would like to clarify the issues and engage in discussions. We have heard from 3 panelists, and city as a service to realize this data utilization will be the key word. I think that's the takeaway. For data utilization, I would like to pose the following question. Saishi-san, my first question is to you. Regarding to evaluate the result, the availability of data as well as the quality of data, I would presume would be very important. If you have abundant urban data, it will enable more processes. That means that on the city side, the municipal government, the municipal organizations need to provide data. So I'm sure there is allocation of responsibilities between the parties. Please comment. There are many people who misunderstand. It doesn't mean that as long as you have collect more data, that is better. That is not the case. Obviously, that is not the case. And we talk about the utilization of data. If you have raw data, that is not useful. So if it's raw data, we will have visibility to the companies, and therefore they would be reluctant to provide the information. But if it's statistically processed data, it's not useful either, because it's only common sense information that will be made available. So this is very important. From data, what kind of insight do you want from data will be very important. What we are trying to do is collect raw data, but we will process that using AI. Deep learning will be used in many cases. For a certain target, we make sure that the characteristics vectors are introduced. We will receive data, but we will rearrange that into the characteristical vector. And based on that characteristic, we will identify what is necessary in the city environment, what are the solutions in that environment. That will be the purpose of the analysis. Well, so what do we have to emphasize? That's very important. It's not just a matter of collecting as many data as possible. That is not the case. We have to look at the data and analyze the characteristics. And this process is very important. For data, unprocessed data, raw data, over time is also very important. From that, properties, characteristics could be analyzed. And once we go to the vector, we cannot go back to raw data. It is very sensitive data. That means that how do we analyze the characteristics of human behavior? There are different approaches to go about doing this. And the neural network model will change accordingly. How data is presented is also very important. This is a discussion that needs to be had to identify the direction going forward. I think that's very important. Yes, I agree. The characteristic vector and the sensitivity issue, anonymity can be resolved. Thank you very much. Yamashita-san, I also have a question for you. In terms of municipal government, they have significant data in their hands, and the public sector data, as well as in the Kyoto companies' data, can be shared as well. I'm sure that is the case. You said that you are struggling in this area. What are the challenges besetting you? How do you find the solutions to overcome these challenges? Now, as you have rightly mentioned, the abundance of data will not suffice. How they are connected and how it can be used to resolve social issues is very problem. It is the challenge. Whether you use big data or AI, that is the purpose. That means that amongst data, you have to go beyond that in terms of and we have to be sensitive to corporate confidential data as well as personal information as well. These two, when they are integrated, there is a role to be played by the government side. When the information is consolidated and if it's going to be used to benefit the community, if it's of public interest, then the personal information can be provided if it is going to be useful for the community. And I think the government can ensure security. That is the reason why we have started the platform. But whether the personal information has to be anonymized and consent will be required. And if you try to do this, it is going to be very cumbersome. In the past, when we had the earthquake disaster, smart meters for electricity was introduced to do area management. We were working with the government, the companies to do this. But for individual companies, for individual families, they didn't want to provide this information regarding energy consumption. So we had to visit the homes one by one, and the objective was explained. And we asked for cooperation because there is a social meaning for that. And 800 households have decided to cooperate. In the case of the companies, I think they are able to be more amenable. But if we want to have the community involved as well, it will not suffice to have the initiative pursued by private sector companies alone. And that is the reason why there is an important role to be played by the public sector. As a result, we are using taxpayers' money for these initiatives. It could lead to cost reduction, energy cost could be reduced, electricity costs could be reduced. If that is the case, we can reallocate to other areas so that we can return the benefit to citizens. A new business could emerge as a result of that. So what is important is to create a mechanism for effective utilization of data, and when we use data to come up with solutions for the citizens, we have to return the benefit. I think we have to do both. By so doing, and in this process, the municipal government can play an important role. Thank you very much. Regarding data utilization, it's not just about data, but it's about people and companies and organization. And the data operation side is also very important. In terms of the operation process, Shigema-san, I have a question for you. In terms of city development, you are working in different themes and working and coordinating with companies in terms of data utilization. What is the response you're getting? What are the challenges besetting your initiatives? In our district, development challenges have been identified and layers have been attached for mobility. So there are 5 quadrants, 5 areas. And the stakeholders involved in these areas are working together. With these members, we are identifying how we can develop common solutions. The utilization data has been discussed, but we have to consider what is the objective, and that will determine what kind of data will be required. That is the order in which discussions are being held, and discussing with the related stakeholders, identifying data and how to work together, and then the allocation of responsibilities could be made. City OS and other data can be requested. That is how we are proceeding in the first step. But beyond that, starting with the use case, data can be accumulated. And once this is done, then I think be more autonomous. If we provide the beneficial data, it can be returned to us with more benefit. I hope that this kind of social mechanism could be understood by all. Then an autonomous mechanism will enable utilization of data. But we haven't reached that stage yet. At any rate, the effectiveness and reflected in the use case should be achieved, so that we can have everyone empathize and provide support.
Thank you very much. The data usage operation, there are some concerns such as anonymity. You don't know whether you can provide the data or not. And cost effectiveness. With some technology solutions, it may be possible to solve these challenges. So data use is a challenge that's being revealed. And another discussion point is that a sustainable business model. Put simply, money and investment are the important points. To optimize the city, somebody has to pay for the technology. They have to make investment in the solutions and technology. So there will be beneficiaries and who should pay how much. I believe that the market is going through trial and error. So once again, I'd like to ask a question to Saisho-san. So you talked about the optimized route to collect the waste. That's been very effective. So again, such effective project or program, who came up with decisions and who made investments? Could you please talk about who made the decisions about investment? So we worked with Mitsubishi Real Estate and Mitsubishi Estate, excuse me, and we talked about the waste and overseas waste has to be processed effectively. There is such a project that's being given to us, and we will start working on it. So in the civil engineering sites, the soil has to be brought to other places. So wide area civil engineering project, there are several tunnels and drilling has to take place, and valleys have to be filled. So these things are going simultaneously by different operators. So there is a soil or sand that has to be discarded. There may be needs for such sand and so on, but now there is a congestion, so you cannot do so effectively by using quantum computer. We are trying to find a solution. Currently, what I see is that in corporate activities, a city is very important. It's a very important framework. I think rather than a nation, maybe city is more important or becoming more relevant. And the reason is because this time around, it's the same for COVID-19 situation. Rather than national policies, prefectural policies or municipality level policies are easier to execute. It's the same for corporate or business activities. It's not within your businesses, but in the city space or urban space, what's happening. You have to grasp that and make responses, and that may bring in more revenue, or factory workers' issues, or transport operators have many challenges and they may be resolved. So we have a city as a service. For rather than urban development policy makers, we get more requests from businesses. They want to know what's happening in the urban space and they want to come up with responses. They want to reconstruct their business models. So this is a horizontal activity. There are urban challenges, and the government and developers on their own cannot work on these challenges anymore. Thank you very much. So now there is a division of responsibilities between public and private sectors. I'd like to ask Shigematsu-san, so you work in this Otemachi or Yurakucho area, which is a very big area, and you're trying to manage that large area. So private sector making investment on its own, not just that, but I think role sharing is necessary across public and private sectors. So what sort of expectations do you have about such responsibility sharing? In our area, as I said earlier, over the past 30 years, our council has been working on this project. So there is a collaboration between public and private sectors. The vision is shared. This is the approach we have been continuing for a long time. Smart city approach is the same in terms of basics. But urban space is a very good field. As was mentioned earlier, and what I feel strongly is that city is a platform where comprehensive activities take place, and digital is just like that. All sorts of things can be put into a comprehensive platform. When they are combined, the city can change. There will be a new evolution. I think the government feels that way, and private sector people also feel the same way, and technology and digital world has many stakeholders. In the past, the people may not necessarily have the viewpoint of urban development or city building, but new stakeholders are coming in. Digital is a comprehensive thing beyond time and space. So in a true sense, I think there is a collaboration across districts. In that sense, a smart city-like infrastructure is how we call it. In the past, there are roads and there will be developments. So I think it's an easy sort of way to look at it. There has to be infrastructure, and that's not only done by the private sector in terms of investment, but because of the presence of certain things, the value of the city can go up. So that can emerge as a result of all sorts of knowledge. So the value goes up, and that increased value should be returned to other people. So that infrastructure can be developed by both private and public sectors, and some services can be provided by private operators. They can monetize such services. Thank you very much. So the value increases, and how can we create a system and make returns to people? That's very important. So Kyoto Prefecture as a local government can play a big role. So when making investments in the smart city concept, if you are in the public sector, you have to think about how to use the public funding. So what is the best way moving forward, Yamashita-san, please? That's such a difficult question. But when we started this smart city project, Barcelona in Spain, we made an exchange pact and started working on it together. And when that happened, I spoke to people in Barcelona, and by making the lights, they were able to reduce the cost by 3.2 billion yen by making the light poles smart. And they can use the money for other purposes. So we use we spend taxpayers' money, and people living in the city or people visiting Kyoto, we want to manage the city the best way. That is what I want to do. So that sort of, there are many approaches that can realize that. At the moment, in the big data platform, businesses and citizens are working together. And when they work on new projects, we provide the initial support. We have been doing that, and there are startups that are trying to resolve social challenges, and we are supporting them when they start off. So as a result, they can have an easier public transport to use, or the healthcare cost comes down, or healthy longevity is extended. There are such results, and we have to consider things in a comprehensive manner. And if you live in Kyoto, they are very happy about the fact that they live in Kyoto, if they can feel that way. So their satisfaction level has to be raised. That's very important. It's very conceptual and abstract, and it's difficult to quantify. But to this end, IoT technology has to be utilized, and citizens' voices have to be fully grasped. To understand what sort of feelings they have, we have to grasp that. So government is not very good at public relations, and they're not really good at listening to people. By starting this smart city, by talking about societal challenges, I feel that this is really the problem. So we have to listen to the people very well, then we can raise the satisfaction level for the people. And about how we spend taxpayers' money, we can win more understanding from the citizens, and they can feel more affinity towards the community they live in. They will be proud of it. And at the same time, when we have an exchange with global citizens, it will be a very important resources. So it's a very abstract and conceptual, I'm afraid, but we have to have that viewpoint in terms of management to realize smart city. That is what I learned over the past 7 to 8 years.
Thank you very much. So time flies when we're having a very good discussion. But what was just mentioned that in the context of Kyoto, there's nature, culture, as well as history. And that is the reason why it could give rise for digital possibilities. Yamashita-san, the smart city, do you think it is going to be combined with the culture, history, as well as nature for digitalization in Kyoto? Yes, indeed. I had the occasion to discuss city development with the French counterpart. We often do this as well in order to develop a concept for the revitalization of Kyoto is discussed. We receive input from many people in developing the concept, and I discuss this with my French counterpart. In the case of Kyoto, we discuss with the urban development professors and experts will come together. We will receive input in to formulate the concept. But my French counterpart said that concept work is extremely important. So 3 area experts should be convened for this purpose. And what are the 3 areas, I asked? First of all, philosopher, historian, and artist. Why philosopher and artist and historian? And when I received this response, I talked to people in Kyoto about their views on this. And Kyoto Shinkin Bank, the former head, Masa-san, agreed with this idea. Because artists will be able to identify the attractiveness of that city. And philosopher, what can he do? He will be able to express that in a universal manner, universal interpretation will be required. What about the historian? And in long history, it should be verified whether the concept is viable or not. So that will be the role of the historian. And I was very much convinced. In terms of technology as well as culture, it encompasses everything. The mind of the people, as well as the prevailing history, is also important to be expressed in the most appropriate wording. It will be very important. In the absence of this, smart city cannot be developed. So I have learned from my counterpart in France. And that is how I would like to do the Smart City Expo and the National Smart City Initiatives is what we're going to participate in. And we want to maintain this concept. So I'd like to ask the panelists for the last comments. So, Saishu-san, please. I just want to say something about COVID-19. With COVID-19, people say that society has changed, but it wasn't because of COVID-19 it changed. But with the advent of COVID-19, people have no choices about the way they want to live. And I believe that the ideal state is where society is trying to pursue. This is a human solution. I think it's going to be a better future for all. We have to not make the mistake. We shouldn't say that, and we hope that we can make a contribution for the better changes in the city. Now, Shigematsu-san, we are talking about AI, and in terms of urban development, as already mentioned, because we have data, we have been able to visualize what was not possible in the past. We have able to gain more insight, which is very beneficial for urban development. So urban development expert and technology experts should work together in pursuing urban development. I think that is required. It will be extremely essential. So this is the concluding part. Listening to the three panelists, it seems that because we have been beset with COVID-19, as society, as Japan, we should continue to discuss the city as a vision. With this, I would like to conclude my remarks. I would like to express my gratitude to the three panelists as well as to the audience. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Mr. Yamashita, Mr. Saishu, Mr. Shigematsu, and Mr. Ishii.